morning. My name is Tim Gordon, and I have the blog Back Alley Taxes, and I thought I should, start doing video series. So this is my very first video in a series. I thought I'd do something that is really easy to start it off. And you know it's easy because it's right there in the title, the 1040 EZ. And so we're going to go ahead and start working through the 1040 EZ to see how we can create the return and then ultimately file the return. Now, of course, you could use some tax preparer software to do this, but if you're doing a 1040 EZ, it's really simple. Plus, depending on your situation, you could even have to pay for the software. And why pay for the software when you can do something for free, right? So, to start off, a 1040 EZ, the idea behind it is that you have basically no information at all. Like the IRS is looking for people who are in a very specific situation. So the first thing you need to determine is whether or not you can actually take this, of course. Now, I don't really know why the IRS decided that this particular situation is what gets to qualify for these easy tax filings, and all the rest of us have to deal with such crap. But, I'm sure they have some huge database where they figure all these things out. So to figure this out, basically, if you are an individual, and so either single or married with no kids, and then the second point is that you really can't have income from complicated sources. So if you have a job and you get a W-2, you can fill this out. It doesn't matter if you're working, low-level job like Subway, or if you're high-income lawyer on a W-2 wages, then you could potentially still use this form. So let's go ahead and start it off, where I'm going to go ahead and move over to the actual form so you can see what I'm doing here. So this is the 1040 EZ. I just pulled this straight off of Google, and I'm probably going to get these notifications every now and then. Let's see if I can stop it. So I just pulled this off on Google. I just did 1040 EZ. Now, just a hint, if you actually want to e-file this form, one place that you can get it from is a website. It's called Free File Fillable Forms or something really dumb like that. If you go to the IRS's website, over on the right-hand side, they have an easy file thing, and it'll give you instructions on how to get to the website. If you just type in, I think it's, let's just go ahead and do it. It's Free File Fillable Forms, like that, and that will take you over to the website. The weird thing is up here you see it says freefilefillableforms.com, but if you just type that in, it actually won't work. You have to do this /pound/FD, otherwise it won't get you there. So if you go there, you can actually file the return. You can prepare all the return. It'll do some of the math for you, not a whole lot of it, but it'll do some of the math, and you can ultimately actually e-file it directly from there. So if you want to e-file it, I recommend you start over there. If you want to paper file it, you can just go to Google and you can fill it out in Adobe like I'm doing right here. So right here at the top it says, income tax returns for singles and joint filers with no dependents. So right off the bat, we know who's covered by this. So go ahead, you can enter in all your information right here. They say, make sure your social security number is correct. Yes, that's pretty basic. So I would also say make sure your name and address are correct for, all the reason that you would expect. And then every year, for some reason, the presidential campaign is asking for a handout right here. If you want to give $3, you can by checking that box. I've seen probably one person actually have that box checked in my entire life, but if that's really what you want to do, more power to you. Okay, so just going through here, you have your income section. So this, it even says right here, attach your W-2. So you should have your wages and salaries from your W-2. And I pulled up a W-2 right here, or I'm in the process of pulling it up, I should say. So I didn't want to use any actual W-2s for obvious reasons. So here is a blank one the second it pulls up. And if you scroll down here, okay, so it says box 1. So here is your box 1 of your W-2. Your actual W-2 might look slightly different. There's no specific standard, but this is one way to do it. So wages, tips, and compensation. So all you do is take that number right there and stick it in right here. And that's really easy. It shows it right there. The next line is if you have taxable interest, you put it in right here. And as it says right here, if you have taxable interest over $1,500, you can't use this form. You're going to have to move over to a regular 1040 and go through a whole lot more pages of information. Just a side note, so if you have a bank account that earns interest, you actually won't get any sort of notification from your bank unless it's at least $10 of interest. Technically, even if you don't get that 1099 in from the bank, you're still supposed to fill it out here. But, you know, teach their own. Next one here is unemployment compensation. You would know if you're on that, or Alaska Permanent Fund dividends. Again, if you're stuck in Alaska, then you probably know that you're filing it there. Sorry, Alaska is a beautiful state. I shouldn't say stuck there. So you come down here and you add those three things together. Those are your only three potential sources of income for a or a 1040 EZ. If you have income outside of that, again, you're going to have to move to the complicated form. And you come down here and you see this gets you your adjusted gross income. You hear accountants talk about that all the time. AGI kind of sounds like a band name, actually, though I'd probably get sued by AFI if I tried to use it. But that's what it is. It's your income. If you use a regular 1040, you actually get some deductions that go into that AGI as well, but we're not talking about that right now. Okay, now step 5 is where it gets slightly complicated. It says, you know, if someone can claim you or your spouse, if you're filing a joint return as a dependent, you have to check one of these boxes. If you are married and filing jointly, chances are no one can mark you as a dependent. Where this can be more of an issue is if you are maybe a college student, or if you are in high school and are making enough money that you want to file on your own. You're going to have to click these boxes here, and then you're going to have to jump through this more complicated schedule right here on the back. I typed in some sample numbers here. I was just messing around with it. Basically, what it's calculating is if somebody can claim you as a dependent, you get less of a deduction. They get the deduction. Even if they don't claim you as a dependent, you still can't get the deduction. I'm not exactly sure why the IRS decided to go that way, or Congress technically created most of these rules, but that's how it is. So if somebody can claim you as a dependent, and in general, a dependent is somebody who is under 18, living with their family, or if you're in college and under 24 and you're still being supported by your family. That's the general rules. If you're in either of those buckets, you might want to read a little bit more into this. And it does say go over to Pub 501. I pulled up Pub 501 right here, and they do have the information about halfway down. And if you Google Pub 501, that will bring you where you want to go. Just don't fill out any personal information, of course. With pretty much anything on Google, don't trust it to get you to the right IRS places, irs.gov. So, but as you can see, this is not exactly a short document. So if you do have questions about that, you can read through that if you really want to, or you can reach out and contact me on Twitter at Tim J. Gordon, and I will do my best to answer your question, or you can reach out to pretty much any tax professional. So we will go back up here. Okay, so that's your taxable income. Next, it has your federal income tax withheld from your W-2 or 1099, which is a bit odd because, I guess you do have your 1099 interest up here. But in general, you're not going to have a 1099 except for this interest. So that 1099 is not really where most of your withholdings are going to come from. It's going to be from this W-2. So if we jump back over to your W-2, here in box 2, you see federal income tax withheld. All you do is take that number and you put it right here on line 7. Okay, so next is the Earned Income Credit. The Earned Income Credit is probably, well, it is the most complex piece of this entire 1040 EZ. And the idea behind the Earned Income Credit, I believe it comes from economist Milton Friedman. At least he was the one who really fought for it. The idea is that instead of, well, to encourage people to have jobs, even if that job can't support you, we should have like a negative income tax, actually give you some money back to help you support yourself while you're working this job to get experience to get a better job. That's the idea behind the earned income credit. I'm sorry, I said that wrong before. So the earned income credit, it says see instructions. So again, if you go over to Google and type in 1040EZ credit and jump down to page 14, that is where the credit, actually it is on page 13, it starts. And so the idea, rather, I'm not going to go through this step by step. You really should. And unfortunately, it is like 3 pages of IRS lingo. The idea behind the earned income credit is what it wants to do is make sure your income is under a certain amount. And as long as your income is under that certain amount, it'll come down on this page and it will calculate. So if you type in your numbers here, well, it won't calculate it. You're going to have to do the math yourself. But it will walk you through calculating how much your earned income credit is. And so, and you do get it even if you're married, single, you can still get the credit as long as your income is under a certain amount. And that amount does change year by year. I think the numbers are going to be right here. If you're making under $14,590 in 2014 if you're single, or $20,020 if you're married filing jointly, that's the maximum amount of the earned income tax credit. Okay, so after you calculate all this, you'll bring that number up here onto line 8A. Non-taxable combat pay election. I really have never dealt with that. I'm assuming that if you are in the military, that's something that you've seen before. If you have any questions, again, reach out. Okay, so after you add up 7, 8, and 9, or 7 and 8, you're going to put it here on line 9, and that is your total amount of payment. So between the amount that was actually withheld from your paycheck, the amount that was pulled out, that depressing line on every W-2, versus from the amount you should have gotten and what you actually see. So that goes in there, along with the earned income credit, and there's your total. And then, so to find the income tax, so you see here we have this number in line 6 is your taxable income that we created before. So what you do is you compare that. There are some tax tables that will tell you the amount. So let's just say our taxable income for the year is $5,000. I don't know. Seems like a nice round number. So $5,000, if you come over to the 1040EZ, which is on here, and if you scroll down to here, that's the earned income tax credit. Keep going, here we go. So this is if your taxable income is, so we're going to start at 5,000. And so we have 2 different columns here. We have single and we have your married filing jointly. So since we are 5,000 exactly, and in this case, it doesn't matter if you're single or married filing jointly, that rarely happens. But you'll see, like, as you get up here, it starts to diverge. So you have these 2 numbers here that are this number right here. Let's see, you say we're single for this example. Your total tax is going to be 503. So if we were to jump back over to here, our tax is 503. And let's just, for the sake of example, let's say we had $1,000 withheld from our paycheck. So then we're going to go down to line 11. This is healthcare individual responsibility. This is something that I really don't want to get into too much right now. This is based on the Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act passage. There's a new requirement in there that you have to have healthcare during 2014. If you didn't have healthcare during 2014, you have to pay a penalty. And so that's what this is here. It's the penalty that you have to pay if you didn't have health insurance. So if you go over, if you didn't, you're going to have to dig a little bit more into that. And I'm not going to discuss it right here in this webcast, but if you go over to the instructions, it will help explain that. And I know the IRS's instructions are not always great, but that will get you there. Okay, so finally we come down to line 12, and so you're going to take your number here. So this is 1,000, so let's do a little bit more of what we should have done in the first place. I didn't have any earned income credit in this example. So 1,000, you have 503. Oh, actually, no, this is our total tax first. And then so 503 in this year is our total tax. If we then take 1,000 minus 503, my math is almost always wrong without a calculator, but it's going to be 7, right? Yeah, 997. So that is going to be your refund. It says if Form 8888 is attached, check here. You're going to want to actually make sure you attach it. Don't check that box and not attach it. But if you do have it, the Form 8888 is just allocating your refund through multiple different accounts. However, if you don't want it over multiple accounts, you can just put in your routing number and account number here. Mark if it's a checking or savings account. I probably shouldn't have to say this, but make sure nobody gets a hold of your tax return, because that will have your bank account information right there if you do put it in. If you put that in, you will get your refund right deposited into your account. Otherwise, if you don't fill this information out, they will send you a check. It'll take longer, but you will get it that way. And they'll send it to this address listed above. Okay, and so if you owe any amount, then let's say, it was reversed and we actually owed 997, you'd put that number there. And you can send in, it says how to pay, see instructions. You can't send in cash. You can generally send in a check for most people. You can also send in an EFT, and if you see the instructions, it'll give you instructions on how to send in that money, like it says right there. Okay, third-party designee. This is if somebody is doing the return for you, like, you go to H&R Block or someplace like that, or hire a real CPA, then they'll put their information right there, and you can decide whether or not you want the IRS to contact them. If it's somebody that you actually know, like, you go to a CPA, and that's the CPA you go to every year, you'd want to check yes. If not, you probably want to check no. Of course, if that is the case, you're probably not watching this video, because why would you watch this video if somebody else is filing the return for you? And so next, you just have to put your signature down. For some reason, they want to know your occupation. I've never seen anybody rejected for not putting their occupation down. But yeah, and you can put your phone number here. I don't think I've ever heard of the IRS calling somebody based on that phone number. They have ways of getting hold of you. Generally, they'll send you a letter, but, put it there anyways. And then finally, here's the actual paid preparer information, which again, if you're having somebody doing the return for you, you're not watching the video. Okay, so that's it. 1040EZ, it's actually fairly simple. For most people, chances are you're just going to have a W-2, and you're going to have the W-2 withholding maybe, a tiny bit of bank interest, $10 or so, or maybe even less, and that earned income credit. That's probably going to help a lot of people. One other thing that isn't specifically stated in here, but if you have like a scholarship wages, if there's something above and beyond, things that are used for qualified purposes, such as tuition, that would also go in here, since those are the kind of people who are generally probably going to be filing this, or a lot of college students. But that's really about it. Again, if you do have any questions, my name is Tim Gordon, and you can reach me. I am on Twitter, or you can go to my website at backalleytaxes.com, and I try to be helpful and answer the questions that I can. If you reach out to me, ask me a question, I can try to answer it on there. Another good place to find information I found is Quora.com, Quora.com. I'm on there occasionally, and there's a couple of people who diligently answer your tax questions if you do ask them on there. So that's about it. Hopefully that has helped you file your tax returns this year. Thanks.